tunadunda kule viwanjani na Micah jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni akituletea habari za michezo. So moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawy. Wengi wananiita mteule na kule kwetu mniite mjukuu wa Masai because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni tena.
Now, let's talk politics.
Again, like I said, this hour, it's going to be politics and a lot of politics because Kenya has a new president. We've been away for, I think, more than 30 days. And a lot happened while we were away. Some people were wondering, kwani hao walienda because Azimio iliruza ama ni nini? But we are going to be covering all that and more. And I'm your politics anchor, Ali Badawy. It's Friday the 16th of September, and we are coming to you live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. Please remember to subscribe to our OneMic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. On panel with me tonight is Mr. OneMic. We have our resident DJ OmoshFaya, who might be here or not here. We don't know how he's going to be here. Ruth is not in studio tonight, and Micah will also be joining us via Zoom. And without much further ado, we want to get started right away. And today we are not going to go in any particular order because it's the first day of school. We may sound rusty. Tunaweza kuwa tumesahau syllabus na nini. So mtunuie radhi. We want to know what you want to talk about. But of course, we can't ignore the fact that we had an election. Now, before we get started, I want to make sure, all our other panelists are available and can hear us loud and clear from wherever they are. Tuanze na DJ OmoshFaya. DJ OmoshFaya, vipi unatupokea?
Nawapokea, sijui kama unanisikia, najua niko na
live and direct
kidogo.
Okay, all right. We can hear you loud and clear. You could have used a better background, but we're going to work with what you have.
We can hear you. Yeah. We can see you.
Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah, you can
the background that you have is the foreground that I've got.
Okay. All right, sawa DJ OmoshFaya. Karibu sana. Na Micah unatupokea?
Party people.
Micah
I don't sound like that.
Oh, sorry. Kade.
Okay, and I agree with you, Micah. Your imitation ya Uno has become so
I love your party people nilikuwa line Omosh party people. So sijuangi mbona hiyo nikitaka kuongea sema party people.
I know you imekuwa style. He needs to come up with something better. But Micah tueleze mambo vipi?
Tuko base.
Mambo poa, everything is good. All's good, all's nice.
Ulikuwa umeenda Kenya kuvota ama ulivote hapa?
Mimi sikuvote. Mimi nilikuwa hapa lakini nilikuwa political. I was analyzing the analysts wakipingana.
You're analyzing the analysts. Ni kama unaenda kuwatch ball lakini unaenda kuwatch mafans. A watch game, watch mafans watch game.
Wacha nikwambie. I realized, like I said, 99% of the people of Kenyans don't know their constitution. And if there's one thing that will kill Kenyans is propaganda. If you have a good propaganda mechanism, utakuwa sawa. But all in all, I watch people coming from voters, then they turned into IBC officials, then they turned into Supreme Court lawyers,
mathematicians.
But see, that's always the standard. But see, that's always like the standard operating procedure.
Well, no, it was funny this time, right? It was funny. This was one of those. This is one of those election petitions. You see the propaganda coming from it to check about forming a narrative is something that's very easy and it's very gullible. More people were ready to listen to narratives than to see the truth that is in front of their eyes.
Yeah, na unajua, like when you talk about narratives, I think the whole electoral cycle, the whole campaign cycle was all about narratives. It had nothing to do with and I think it's across the world. Even here in America, a lot of people are no longer interested in getting the meat and bones. They just want to get the overall story. Like vile Trump alikuwa anasema this has happened. Like I wonder. So people are more interested in those. I don't know that it's because people have become people's brains have become a bit lazier, or I don't know whether it's just the sheer volume of information that's overwhelming people and making people not want to see things as they are, and to cling on to, you know, what's being said. And when we say this, it's from both sides, you know. I mean, of course, one side won, but both sides, you know, were always coming up with stories. And I think it's also because they also realize that facts and being honest and being truthful will not win you election. The one who's, you know, like better at selling a lie is the one who will tend to convince more people. But that's just you know, my thinking. And at this point, I want to welcome, you know, like our listeners. I know it's been a long time. Slay, karibu sana. Henry Award, Fabricia, Brown Sugar, karibuni sana. But I want to go back to you, Omosh. This was a very long drawn and very emotional process, you know, for a lot of Kenyans, regardless of whether, you know, like you want to admit it or not. You know, just give us your thoughts on everything that happened to the point where we are, that we now have a new president. OmoshFaya.
Munanipokea ama munipokei?
Tunakupokea.
Okay, good. So, hey, maze, this one, I don't even know where to start. Hata munizaona, I've lost hair. I don't know if the viewers can see that. But lakini maisha imekuwa tumerudi to bottom ups.
Yeah.
But this whole process for me was a very, I think we learned a new lesson about the voter now, or the Kenyan voter now. The Kenyan voter now, the people who voted in 2022, or the way they voted, moved away from the traditional voting, what we saw for 2017. They totally moved away completely. In fact, I'm at the point where I can say for sure, I don't know how to catch Kenyan voter in terms of how they voted, because you found that people are no longer voting on party lines. People were voting upon what they saw as a need that they internally had, or in some cases, if you talked to folks, they are telling you the lesser of the two evils, or whatever evil they thought that was there. That's what we got to see. It was very, to me, I would venture to say, scary. And what I don't know, or what I don't understand, is whether this is actually going to be a lasting trend, or if it was just specific for this voting period, because of the numbers that we saw of people who voted or those who didn't vote. And then now there's an aftermath where you hear from people who are saying, I'm never going to vote again. So, and these are people who have been voting at least through maybe 3 or 4 election cycles. And they're literally at the point where they're saying, I am not going to vote again. So I don't know where we are as a country from that perspective, and what it is we need to do to get past that and bring all these people in collectively so that they can start to vote. Back to you, studio.
All right, thank you so much, Omosh. Now, you know, like from my own analysis, there's certain systemic issues that I think IEBC doesn't want to take a look at very seriously. There's sometimes certain trends, and I think I was having this conversation with Uno before the show regarding the percentage of people who turn out to vote. And you know, and like, to me, I'm getting to a point where, you know, like, it's easy to say people from this county or this other county are lazy and they don't want to show up to the polls. But to me, there's a systemic issue that I think that's not being analyzed. I personally don't know it, but there's a certain systemic issue, because we can't have, you know, like certain specific areas where it's just all the time. These are the areas where people don't show up to vote. So I think they need to look at it qualitatively rather than just quantitatively. These are the number of people who showed up to vote. And some of the issues include, you know, like being able, for example, to find your ID when you've lost it, being able to get an ID in the first place. We definitely know there's some parts of Kenya where people have difficulty in getting IDs than other parts. And of course, here we're talking about people who showed up. So these are people who already registered to vote. In the diaspora, I want to say that IBC suppressed turnout in the diaspora by originally saying that you cannot use an ID. Because remember, IDs were allowed midstream after Okia Omtata, who's currently the Busia senator, went to court. And this was midstream. So what happened? There was confusion amongst people who had already registered with a passport. So there's some people who showed up to the polling stations with IDs only. And they were told you registered with a passport, so you can't use this to vote. Yet they've already been identified by the biometric system. So I think, like, it's problematic, like this idea of you must use the specific ID that you registered with, even if it's an expired passport. I think that was problematic. And I think, that's one of the things that IBC should reform. I was an agent, and I can tell you, I was counting the number of people. There were quite a number of people who are being turned back because of this document or that document, because of that confusion that had come in the beginning. So as far as, like voter apathy is concerned, and also, like low registration numbers and people not turning out to register, I think this needs to be reviewed qualitatively, region by region, county by county, rather than just, like making blanket statements like people from certain counties are lazy. There's a reason why, like this is not happening. Uno.
Whoever said about laziness, I don't know. But what I'll say is this: when you look at first, to address the issue of Supreme Court and what Micah was saying, at one point in time, I just disconnected from social media and everything, and I was telling many people what I was going to do was wait until the results are read.
Yeah.
And then once they're read, so that means when Chebu and IBC decide to announce, then I'll listen.
Yeah.
Then, depending on the outcome, chances are they would have been. There's going to be a challenge, Supreme Court. So hypothetically, my assumption was, okay, whoever wins or whoever is not declared, there's going to be something will be filed. So until when it's filed, then I will wait until the hearing. When people now start, the petitioner presents, then the respondents, and then so that is how I operated. So I was operating on. I'll hear first day, Azimio, second day, Kenya Kwanza.
Yeah.
Then the third day was, both, whatever. Then I was like, what? I'll wait until now. The decision is read. Then when Madam CJ reads it, sawa, okay. When she reads it. So for me, I was drowning out the noise. But in drowning out the noise, I was also trying to look at numbers. Like I was trying to look at the data that, IBC had collected, and, you're looking at, turnout. So when you look at turnout, you're looking at, okay, and this is a discussion we're having in many of our various groups, like you're looking at strongholds. If you look at strongholds and look at the numbers, you're looking at, okay, 98%, like in Luo Nyanza, 98%. When you go to coast, Mombasa was like 50-something%, which was a shocker, by the way, in terms of the people who came out. But when you look in totality, the total valid votes versus now the registered persons, the turnout was very low. Surprisingly enough, like when you look at Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, the average turnout was 70%, which made people, which made us think, okay, what exactly was Azimio's ground game in those strongholds? What exactly was the ground game? Because we know Kenya Kwanza ground game, reports coming in from people on the ground that these guys were serious. So again, like you said, in hindsight, maybe you look at probably not really pushing, not getting on the ground, not really, because people were registered. Because when you look at the numbers in totality, about 700,000 people did not turn out to vote in Baba Stronghold, especially in Luo Nyanza. When you look at Mombasa, the turnout was 40-something%.
Well, I know, I don't think it was 40-something%.
It was.
You're talking about the
Mombasa 001.
The voter turnout.
Voter turnout versus the total registered,
number of registered voters.
yes,
Okay.
was under 50%.
Okay, that's something
But
I'm gonna
of
verify. Yeah.
We'll verify
I know
of the numbers.
I know Kilifi was under 50%.
And I think Kilifi was about in total.
No, I'm talking about voter turnout.
Voter turnout. Yeah,
I'm talking about voter turnout.
Yeah.
But that's something that we can confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just go to IBC and look at the numbers. But I think, strategically, somebody dropped the ball somewhere.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's what, and this is something in hindsight. I think after everything is settled down, we're going to find out maybe what really happened or what did not happen. But I wanna, I wanna go to you, Micah, and I want us to talk a little bit about politics of Western. Not saying that you're subject matter expert on Western politics, but there are some people who are actually saying that Wetangula in Bungoma is the one who cost Baba the election, because Bungoma went Kenya Kwanza. All other Western province counties went Azimio, including Musalia Mudavadi's Vihiga. They all went Azimio. It was just this one particular county that went Kenya Kwanza. So, Micah, tell us a little bit about the politics in that region that maybe that people might not quite understand. Because this is not the first time Bungoma was defying the rest of Western Kenya. Micah.
Okay, Ali, one thing you need to know about Bungoma is that was not a strange thing for it to happen. They usually vote like that. They will vote Wetangula because that's their man. So usually we've also seen in situations whereby Wetangula was not with Baba, they will still not vote for Baba, they'll vote on the other side. But that was the only thing he could deliver, which was his own, and I believe that is why he signed that agreement. And I'm sure this is something that Azimio should have expected and should not have caught them by surprise. If it caught them by surprise, I'm really doubting how good they are politically, because they would have known that that area would have switched or would have gone in whatever direction that Wetangula had told them to go, right? Wetangula is still that is one of the major strongholds of Fort Kenya as a party, and they really hold that party to heart. Bungoma is predominantly of the Bukusu community, which was Wamalwa's community, so they will hold that party to heart, and they will vote where that party tells them to vote. Whether they're going to come out winners or not, they will always vote where that party tells them to vote. So for them going with Wetangula, they were sticking to something that was clearly known and something that is usually them. So this is something that Azimio should have expected, and Azimio should have worked on the other counties which have higher populations like Kakamega and Busia, and that those numbers from Bungoma, they cannot say that it costed Baba, but a lot of factors worked in Ali in this election and costing Baba. So we can pinpoint and just say it's that block, but Baba doesn't control that block. It's not his stronghold. It's not his stronghold. He has a strong chokehold in Busia. He has a strong chokehold in Kakamega, but not in Bungoma. He doesn't have that. Not in Trans Nzoia. So they should have, as OneMic said, Duko, they should have rallied down on their numbers on the ground, on where they knew they had the numbers and they knew they were strong, and they could have nullified that threat. But if we start pointing regions where you say that Baba lost the elections, there are a lot of areas you can pinpoint that has considered his stronghold and did come out to vote, and those numbers could have turned what was in Bungoma. Back to you.
Okay, asante sana Micah, and want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the OneMic show. The number to call is 202-683-4570 *5 to speak. We want to hear your opinions. Omwenga Albo anasema Baba's campaign was weak. It felt like people expected him to win. Personally, I think Uhuru played him. And And you know that thing, I don't know, I'll disagree with respectfully disagree with Albo. Albo, by the way, is the guy responsible for making our videos. You know, kama uko na kazi yote ya video editing, you know, feel free to inbox him hapo. He's also mtu wa masinema. What exactly does he do with the masinema? Does he make movies?
3D, sci-fi 3D.
Okay.
Sci-fi. So if you guys, there's Lady Moran, go check out YouTube, Lady Moran, on the YouTube channel, 3D Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Albo, weka link hapo boss.
Weka link hapo boss, usiogope na utatuona kando. But weka link hapo. And he also reviews Kenyan movies.
Yes.
You know, he reviews Kenyan movies, so if you go to his YouTube page, Albo, feel free kuweka link hapo, watu weze kujua wewe ni nani, and yeah. But yeah, so coming back to
just to go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to read some comments.
No, coming back to this issue of Uhuru played Raila, you know, I honestly think that's a narrative, and I honestly don't think that's not true.
No.
You know, I personally believe, you know, like, Uhuru was genuine in not wanting Ruto to become president.
Very.
And wanting Raila to win. And here's the other thing that we're going to look at it, you know, like, and here's the power of the narrative. The narrative, the Baba narrative in especially Mount Kenya has been very strong for a very long period of time.
Right.
That, you know, like at this point, people thought it had been cracked. And it did get cracked because Baba used to get maybe less than 3% of the vote.
He got 26%.
Yeah, but he got
about
25.
About a million.
That's something people don't think about.
People are not getting that.
Yeah, people are not getting that point.
Yes.
You know, which is, you know, like some people are saying, you know, it might be too late, but getting 25%, that's 1 in 4. You know, which is a big deal.
And you remember when we had this discussion, I remember saying that it was along the lines of, if everything else held constant,
Yeah.
meaning strongholds come out,
Yeah.
Kamakawa, strong, then we just get between 20 and 30% of the mountain.
Yeah.
It's a wrap on this one.
Yeah.
That was what we had discussed over here. I
Yeah.
recall very well.
Yes.
Carry on.
No, but
So,
we are Omosh, go ahead.
Paul, I was just wondering, did Uno say we? I just want to clarify.
See, the discussion we were having here on the OneMic show, pertaining to the numbers.
You failed. Ali, continue.
No, but coming back to where we currently are, you know, like we have a new president, and I think people are still out there mulling on the role of the opposition, and I think Azimio is trying to, you know, like gain its foot, you know, like after losing, and trying to see what role they're gonna play in the opposition. And here's one thing I want to tell people. There's nothing wrong opposing, you know, because I think Kenyans have gotten to this surrender point, this accept and move on point, where they expect that that someone has lost election and they're in the opposition, so they should just sit and say nothing. And with the Supreme Court ruling, you know, like yes, we have to respect it, but people don't have to agree with it. You see, that's a beauty about the system that we have. People can respect it, but people don't have to agree with it. So I sometimes, you know, like get this sense that we are in such a black and white society whereby people are saying, oh, nyi mmeshindwa, so now you just go sit back and wait, and that's what has caused all these problems, where you have an executive that's not being checked. I know people are saying 2 and 3 things about Baba right now, that he should retire, he should just go on vacations, and he should not do anything. But I'm like, well, he lost the election, he's in the opposition, and he's within his own rights to to disagree with the rulings, to disagree with what happened in IBC. And talking about IBC, I think it's very important for IBC to try and build trust with the public. You know, from my interaction with them, is that they're so focused on process and technicalities, but they haven't, you know, like taken that track of trying to build trust, because it's difficult to build trust building trust is very difficult. You know, technology is not gonna make people trust you. Technology will just, you know, like expose the technicalities of what you're doing. But if people mistrust you, there will always be a problem, regardless of whatever technology you're using. So yeah, so Kenya right now, we're in that place where there's 4 commissioners on one side and 3 commissioners on the other side. These 3 commissioners are up for retirement in January, and the 4 commissioners, there's a push by the Kenya Kwanza side to try and oust them. So we might get into a constitutional crisis where,
because those guys have got a security of tenure until the Maliza there.
Yeah, but there's a procedure.
There's
a procedure for removing them.
Right.
You know, like if there's malpractice.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a procedure for removing them. So if these 3 retire, and these 4 you know, like are removed, then we're in a constitutional crisis. We can't hold any by-elections. We can't do anything, and I don't think even the courts will allow that to happen. I've been of the opinion, and people disagree with me, this election results revealed something. There are no neutral Kenyans. I have been saying that so many times, and people sometimes want to fight me. The Kenyans who pick side. The only difference is that there are those who will be vocal about the side they pick, and there are those who will be silent, and there are those who will pretend to be neutral. But there are no neutral Kenyans. The 2 other candidates that we had, who are the neutral candidates, got less than 0.7% of the total vote. There were more spoiled votes than Wajakoya and Mwaure got
combined
put together. So that tells you something, and that's the reason why, you know, like na hii nimekosana na watu, when I tell people, you know, like there's not neutral people, people should just trust me and believe me in that. And that's why I say with IBC, it should just be a situation like we have in the Federal Election Commission. This is a Democrat, we are nominating him to be on the commission, and this is a Republican, we are nominating him to be on the commission. So let's have both sides pick their people. So we go in there, we know that these ones were picked by Azimio, and these ones were picked by Kenya Kwanza, than go in with this pretense that, oh, you know, these guys are neutral, they don't care who wins, A or B. That has never been true. And this time, it just came to the surface. Even in previous commissions, it was known which commissioners were on this side, and it was known which commissioners are on this other side. But people come in with that guise of neutrality. You're tuned into the OneMic show. Want to welcome our producer, Mubelwa Bandio, who was also keenly observing the Kenyan election, you know, and making comparisons and contrasts with Tanzania, you know, akiwish kidogo, na si mimi pia ningekuwa Mkenya pia nipate hizi raha wa Kenya wako nazo na nini
raha kachembe karaha kajui kanini.
But he laughed at us. He really laughed at us, that guy.
Yes he did, because he also had a side. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Or let me say, a lot of Tanzanians, you know, that I was interacting with, a lot of Tanzanians also had a side. Unajua hii elections ni kama ball, you know, like people will always, you know, people even who followed, you know, kwa muda mfupi ama nini, they will always pick a side. So a lot of Tanzanians I was talking to, a lot of Ugandans, and even a lot of people from countries like Rwanda, Mozambique, and Zambia, you know, like there's some who liked Baba, and there's some who liked Hustler. Mubelwa Bandio, karibu sana.
Asante sana. Mbona unanizimia mic boss?
Sikuzimii baba.
Ongeza gain huko baba.
Niongeze gain. Sawa kaka.
Sikiki boss. Sikiki. Yes, hapo sawa. Au ulitaka nisiseme?
Satan.
All right. I say karibu tena. Karibu Kilimanjaro Studios. Nyinyi karibuni wale wote wanafuatilia kwa mtandao. So back kwa point yako ya turnout. Ile number najua ulikuwa very impressed na baba kuwa na 1 out of 4. Swala ni kwamba 1 out of 4 katika nini? Take an example like take Maryland as an example. So,
Yeah.
Kwenye midterm elections, Republicans wanafanya vizuri. The only reason Maryland kunakuwa na Republican governor, the main reason ni kwa sababu votes zinafanyika
midterms.
Yeah. Kwa hiyo midterms kuna turnout ndogo, lakini majority ya turnout inakuwa ni Republicans.
Yeah.
Na inawezekana hiyo ilikuwa ni sababu nyingine, kwamba ile sehemu turnout iliyokuwa ndogo, ile turnout kwa nani. Na hii ndio changamoto. That's one thing wasipendi kuhusiana na masuala ya percentage. Unajua Kuna kipindi nilisema hapa, kuna kipindi Kikwete alichaguliwa kwa kishindo like 70% of the votes, right? Tanzania ikiwa na watu milioni 40, walikuwa wamejiandikisha ni milioni 10, walipiga kura watu milioni 8, kati ya milioni 8 watu milioni 3 na kitu ndio walikuwa wamemchagua. That's over 60%.
Yeah.
Ukiangalia 60% unasema amechaguliwa kwa kishindo.
Yeah.
Lakini ni watu milioni 3 kati ya milioni 50. Unajua? So hii mambo ya percentage yanapokuja, that's where the problem is. Na inabidi kuhakikisha kwamba tunaiangalia katika jicho zuri. Nafikiri watu wanasema Uhuru na nilisema hapa last time kwamba Uhuru yuko responsible na baadhi ya kura za
baba.
Si kwa sababu hakuwa genuine kwa kila alichokuwa anakifanya, ila kwa sababu watu waliamini kwamba hii ni continuation ya kila alichokuwa anakifanya. Kuna baadhi ya watu walikuwa wanamtaka baba na wanamchukia Uhuru. Na kwa sababu ilionekana kwamba sasa akifanya hivi huyu atataka kumlipa favor, wakaanza either ndio maana hawakuvote au kuna baadhi ya kitu. Wapo watu ambao wamezungumza hilo na sio wengi kwa sababu sina sample ya kutosha kuweza kusema hivyo, lakini bado baadhi ya watu ndani ya Kenya wamekuwa kwa sababu nikiwasiliana sana na watu wa Kenya katika media. Kwa hiyo unaweza kuona kwamba kwa nini uchaguzi umekuwa nafikiri umekuwa uchaguzi bora tangu nimeanza kufuatilia election Afrika Mashariki. Just kuanzia campaign ambayo ilihusisha zaidi vitu ambavyo ni tofauti. Hii haikuwa kwamba huyu ni wa kwetu. Kidogo kulikuwa kuna sera kiasi. Ilikuwa close kiasi kwamba watu wakaacha hakuna mtu anataka afanye vurugu, kwa sababu ukifanya vurugu unaweza kuwa unamharibia mtu wako. At the same time ikaingia, nafikiri kwa wakati ule ilikuwa ina trend sana kwa sababu ilikuwa kwenye mahakama kuu. Unaweza kuona kwamba uchaguzi kuna mengi ya kujifunza. Mahakama ya juu, yes. Mahakama ya upeo. Yes, mahakama ya upeo. Unasikia Kiswahili.
Zote zinatumika.
Sawa. Nimetumia bombastic.
Yeah.
Kwa hiyo unachosema nini? Kuna mambo mengi sana kujifunza kuhusu uchaguzi.
Mahakama ya mashakura.
Mengi sana ambayo nchi nyingi zinatakiwa kujifunza kuhusu uchaguzi. Yote, good and bad. Watu wanatakiwa kutambua. Umezungumza kitu kizuri sana hapa. Niligundua hilo. At one point nilikuwa nafikiri kwamba Kenya kuna watu ambao wako neutral and stuff. Alafu nikamwangalia Wajakoya wangu ambaye mimi nilimpigia kura kwa kumwombea. Naangalia vote hizo zipate na I'm like, wow. Unajua Lakini inaonekana kabisa kwamba like you say, kitu kimoja watu wamesahau ni kwamba katika dunia ya sasa mambo machache kuhusu binadamu, na haya nimejifunza ni research imefanyika. Binadamu uwezo wake wa kufikiria unakuwa mdogo sana. Sasa hivi wanasema kwamba attention span yetu ni ndogo kuliko ya goldfish. Sawa? Kitu kingine ni kwamba watu hawasikilizi vitu. Watu wachache sana. Ndio maana unaweza kukuta sasa hivi hapa kwenye OneMic show unaweza kuona hiyo namba. Ni watu wachache wanakuja hapa kwa sababu wanataka kusikiliza opinions tofauti. Watu wengi sasa hivi duniani wanakwenda kusikiliza kujustify opinion walionayo.
Yeah.
Ndio maana Fox News itakuwa na nani nyingi sana kuliko PBS.
Yes.
Unajua? Na labda MSNBC ambayo kidogo iko the other side na yenyewe itakuwa natamba sana, lakini the reason ni kwa sababu watu wanapokwenda pale unajua kabisa. Hii ndio sababu nani alikufa, Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh alikuwa popular si kwa sababu alikuwa na content nzuri sana, no. Lakini kwa sababu mtu ulikuwa ukienda unajua ni kitu gani atakwambia. Yeah. Sean Hannity watu wanaingia. Kuna baadhi ya vitu anazungumza. Yes, Alex Jones. Unasikiliza mtu is like unajua fika this is not true, lakini bado unakwenda unafanya nini? Unamwamini. Hapo ndo panapokuwa na shida. Kwa hiyo dunia sasa haiko sana kwenye ukweli. Unajua? Wanasema there's no in between righteousness and evil.
Yeah.
Unajua it's like you're righteous or you're evil, hapo ndo utakuwa popular. Hata sasa hivi uweze ukafanya kitu ambacho kiko middle kama hivi, mambo ya kuelimisha tukifanya hivi, namba inakuwa ndogo. So mwisho wa siku watu watakwenda na extreme either to the left or
to the right.
Lakini ukibaki hapa, si unaona Green Party ziko wapi, Libertarian wako wapi hapa Marekani? Unajua? Kwa hiyo watu wanajitahidi but hautopata the reality. Ila niseme kitu kimoja kwamba ninashukuru sana katika uchaguzi huu kuanzia campaign, kuanzia kuwapata, yani tangu kutangaza nia, maana kutangaza nia ni kabla campaign. Ile kusema kwamba nitagombea walipokuwa wanaanza kina RUTO na zile pilika zao, mpaka kampeni yenyewe to the point umefika uchaguzi ulivyofanyika, namna ambavyo kulikuwa kuna competition kali, ambapo umefika na the fact kwamba kuna watu wengi wameshindwa kukubaliana na matokeo, yet wakaendelea kuwa watulivu, watu wakakubali kutokukubaliana na matokeo, lakini bado wakaendelea kushiriki. Hicho ni kati ya vitu ambavyo nafikiri Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda wote tunaweza kusema kwamba hiki ni kitu ambacho tumejifunza. Ni furahi tu kwamba mzee wangu alifika pale akatoa usia kuhusu demokrasia, akatoa usia wake wa miaka 60. Ni hawa wamekuwa haja democratic. Museveni, unajua, nilimsikiliza nikasema labda hii ni lesson. Lakini kitu kubwa nataka kusema ni kwamba katika uchaguzi huu Kenya wametufunza mambo mengi sana. Kuna mambo mengi ya kujifunza, na nafikiri kitu kimoja tu ambacho tunatokea kuona sasa hivi ni kwamba inabidi uchaguzi ujao uanze sasa. Fortunately Kenya sio kama Tanzania. Tanzania Magufuli alivyoshinda alikata kabisa mambo ya siasa. Hakuna kampeni, hakuna mikutano, hakuna nini. Sasa hivi wanaweza wakatumia. Ni kweli baba anaweza asigombee mwaka unaofuata. Lakini kama ataamua kukaa nyuma akaanza kuwafundisha watu na kuwateua na kufanya hivi, kwa sababu reality ni kwamba mimi nilikuwa nakijiuliza kwamba kama ingetokea shida baba hawezi kugombea wiki chache kabla ya uchaguzi, nani mwingine angeweza kupika akawa karibu na baba katika hadhi?
Hakuna.
Kwa ina maana na shida na baba katika namna ya kwamba haja groom kweli watu kadhaa. Na akianza sasa hivi miaka 5 ijayo mtakuwa mmefika mahali pazuri. Lakini ilikuwa baba hapa anayemfuata yuko huku. It's like it's either baba au baada ya hapo basi bora twende na RUTO. Kwa hiyo ni kitu kingine ambacho sasa hivi Wakenya wanaweza wakajifunza kwamba kuanzia sasa anza maandalizi ya uchaguzi ujao. Hata kama hamna mambo kulalamika na nini, but start preparing somebody, groom somebody.
Na unaona sasa unfortunately watu wengi wataki kufanya hiyo kazi. Kwa sababu hiyo kufika kiwango ambacho baba amefika ni lazima ufanye kazi, ni lazima uanze kutoka pale utakapoanza. Ukiangalia kule baba alikotoka na kule alikoanza, na yeye utasema kama kwamba alikuwa ni kama hana mentor, kwa sababu yeye hata babake mwenyewe marehemu Jaramogi alikuwa yeye hakuwa preferred candidate wa Jaramogi. Jaramogi aliprefer tu kama kina Paul Mwite, kama kina James Orengo na nini. Kwa hivyo yeye ilibidi ajiondoe kwa ile chama ya babake baada ya babake kufariki, na akajiuzulu kutoka bunge na akarudi uchaguzi. Na hicho ndo kitu ambacho watu wengi hawafahamu siku hizi, especially hao watu ambao wanasema mimi niliingia na Azimio lakini sasa natoka naenda upande wa Kenya Kwanza. Kisheria, kihaki ni kwamba unafaa kujiuzulu kiti chako cha bunge, urudi kwa debe, watu wakupigie kura. Lakini ni kama vile pia sheria zifuati ambavyo kwamba
ni katiba, lakini
ni katiba hiyo hapo.
Tanzania huwezi, yani ukishatoka kwenye chama you are out.
Sasa ndio hivyo.
Sasa nyinyi katiba yenu inaruhusu kwamba unaweza ukaswitch party ukaendelea kubaki na position, si ndio?
No, katiba inaruhusu chama kumvua mtu wanachama.
Sawa.
Na ukimvua wanachama anapoteza kiti chake cha ubunge.
Yeye mwenyewe
anapoteza kiti chake cha ubunge.
Okay.
So hiyo hapo ni jukumu la chama pia kufanya.
Lakini mimi nisipovuliwa wanachama nikahama chama.
Ukihama chama, kama ukihama chama waziwazi, pia wewe lazima ujiuzulu.
Lazima uondoke katika.
Lazima uondoke.
Okay. Hiyo ndio ambayo nafahamu katika nchi nyingine.
I think si vile,
lakini hapa Marekani unaweza kuswitch.
Wetangula
Marekani una switch chama. Kuna watu ambao wameondoka.
Una switch chama, lakini ukiswitch kama uko katikati ya muhula wako
haupotezi.
Hapo ndo pale sasa mimi sijui na
ndani kama una
sheria tofauti.
Ngoja tuone watu watatuambia vipi huko.
Kwa nasema ni kama vile Wetangula alijiuzulu, lakini I think that's a different scenario.
Nani
Wetangula ndio awe speaker.
No, so Wetangula what Wetangula did, Wetangula was elected.
Yes.
Was elected as a senator
for Bungoma
County.
Right.
He was elected as senator Bungoma County, and then he wanted to vie for speaker. Now here in the US, as a speaker, you can retain your seat. You can retain your congressional seat. But in Kenya, you cannot be a speaker and at the same time holding a parliamentary or a senate seat.
Right.
Wacha tuwasikie OmoshFaya na Micah wamenyamaza sana. Wacha tuende kwa Micah first and then tuenda kwa OmoshFaya. Micah.
Yes, sir.
Twende kazi.
Let's get watch that cheka. Kwenye mmekava topic mingi that I would let me start on that the defections. And for me, I honestly feel like when people decided to vote, even if they're voting for you and they like you, they're voting for a certain party. If you move, you're supposed to relinquish that position and then go back and campaign from that party that you're in, and then we see how it is. Another thing I wanted to add on from this election that I've noticed is that, especially when you see in the central region, most people who are Jubilee politicians, after losing, they ran to join Kenya Kwanza. So for me, I'm like, isn't that more of a career suicide? Because already you lost the election. So even if you're trying to go for under Kenya Kwanza in the next elections, you're fighting an incumbent who's here. you get voter apathy from the people who voted you in, hata kama walishindwa, and you're making it hard. Like somebody else can, like you. That's I feel it's political suicide. I don't know how can we move on from that. Like how Vilele Masema, it's like nobody wants to put in the work, but also even if you don't want to put the work, doesn't anybody look at it on the long term of how they want their political careers to end? Anyway, I don't know if I'm just talking Juvindo Laskirevo, but I'm just thinking like this is an election that is seeing us fast. It's showing us like the immediately results were made. You're seeing defections. You're seeing people moving around. It's an election that's showing us some really, really funny trends that we've never used to. And going back to your point, your position, even if you guys went and you voted as me and you said you move over, going to Kenya Kwanza, then was your purpose really of getting this elected for this position just for your benefit, or were you going there to work and represent your people? Because if you defect and then it comes to parliament and a motion is passed, and that motion for the party you've defected to is affecting the people you're representing, how are you going to vote? Anyway, Ali, I don't know if you can answer my question, but it's an election that we've learned a lot of fast. It's an election that we've seen a lot of new things. It's an election that I think is going to bring lessons ahead for many people. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Micah. I think the biggest thing in this election, like the biggest change that we saw is that, like issues were actually being talked about.
Right.
And I think this is one of the first elections where people were seriously discussing issues, and even the strongholds did not record, like those high 98% numbers that we used to see.
No.
There's been a softening on the different strongholds, whereby you find that people even in those traditional strongholds are willing to listen to what the other person has to say. And I think this is the point where people need to take advantage, especially issue-oriented people need to take advantage of this moment and start building from now. Start building those narratives, because these narratives, it's easy to build a false narrative. It's more difficult to build a truthful narrative, but you have to put in the hard work. Once you teach people to follow this, I think people will be more willing to listen to you. The one thing that I'm observing with this new government, of course, we are told to give them a chance. I remember we're here in 2013 and people are saying, give Uhuru a chance, and when I said, I don't have any high expectations, people said ABC. And I'll be honest, I'm in the same position that I was, in 2000. I wish, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. But I, so far, even with the little that I've seen from the start, there's a lot of focus on giving an impression to people rather than actually being down there and doing the work. There's a lot of things that we're already seeing whereby there's an attempt, there's a very strong attempt to give an impression of what's happening. And I think when that happens, because always the good work, like we always talk about the coalition government and the great work that they did, a lot of that great work was not visible. It wasn't tangible. It could not be put on a flyer or on a 2-minute clip. A lot of that could not be done. And to me, the problem with the previous government is that that's how they came in and that's how they governed. And that's the reason why we are in the mess that we are today. As we know, from 2 days, no, I think it was just the day when there was a swearing in. I think it was on the same day when President Ruto, can't believe I'm even saying that. Oh my goodness, did I just say President Ruto?
Yes,
anyway,
boss.
And it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Zoea, as I totally said,
Yeah.
Zoea,
Yeah.
Zoea.
Yeah. I'm just hoping I wake up to find Baba ndo alikuwa president. But anyway, there was a tweet that was deleted, which was there's this country called Morocco in North Africa, and there's a part called Western Sahara that has declared independence for a while from Morocco, and Kenya had recognized Western Sahara. We even had diplomatic presence in Kenya. But for some reason, President Ruto decided that he's gonna go and tweet that that diplomatic relation has been revoked and Kenya no longer recognizes Western Sahara. And remember, when it comes to international relations, this is something that has to go through the parliament, you know. And this was done in a tweet. I mean, the tweet was deleted.
That was my question.
Yeah, the tweet was deleted,
But it's there.
but that was dangerous. And I think this is my thinking. What may have happened? The Moroccan king, you know, like came to Kenya for the inauguration, and Morocco is known as they're the biggest producers of fertilizer in Africa. And fertilizer was one of the big promises that Ruto put out there. So I think what happened is that this guy, you know, knew about it. He gave him a quick deal, and Ruto got excited. He tweeted, and you know what the Moroccan Foreign Affairs Ministry did? They immediately after the tweet, they did not even wait. They went and officially published on their website that Kenya no longer recognizes Western Sahara. So to me, that's a danger that I see, whereby we're going back. We used to have roadside declarations by President Moi, but this time we're going to be having tweet-side declarations. And that's something that I personally fear, whereby things are not given deep thought and they're tweeted out there and they seem popular. And to me, that can be very dangerous, you know. And having this transactional relationship where you meet with leaders, unamwambia, oh, utanipambolea, bas kwisha, wacha ni tweet. That is very dangerous.
We know used to do that.
Yeah.
Orange Man.
Orange Man used to do that, and I never wanted to compare, you know, President Ruto to Orange Man, but I have to say there's a number of similarities that have already started.
What about the deputies? Before Omosh chimes in, what about the deputy and his declaration about DCI? To go back to Kiambu Road, but anyway.
I mean the deputy, you know, like I think that's what we expect from him. That's what people have known of him. He's rogue. And a lot of people want to blame him, but I honestly don't believe he made that speech, that very awkward speech, without the knowledge of President Ruto. I really don't think that's something that he went and did there randomly. And I think the thing that Ruto likes about his deputy right now is that he can do all his dirty work. He can do all his dirty work because he's now, you know, like coming and giving an impression that he wants to work with the other side, he wants to be clean and all that. So I think that's politically, that may be a good strategy.
Omosh, by the way, there's so many comments over here. Esther Mulusa, Karibu, Slay, Hetas, Rogers, Karibu Sana, Lloyd, Frankie, Hadi, Douglas Kaani. I'm going to read your comments. Omosh, Kader, Todie na bere, Todie, Trende Kazi.
Maze, where do you start? Rigiji has 200 million reasons to be making comments. And until that, those monies come back. So he said his money is coming back. So maybe there's something being worked out on the backside. I don't know. What do we know? But, you know, something that guy, you know, he's uncouth in his behavior and the way he does things, but he's not a dummy. He's very intelligent. So folks need to... I would say people need to be very scared of that guy. If right now, you know, there may be some folks out there crying and saying, oh, you know, Ruto this, Ruto that. Yes, Ndio. This Rigiji, this guy is at another level. Mukae Macho. But remember, again, they both come from the MO1 College of Leaders for Kenya. So anything is possible with those guys. I must say that we, at this point as Kenyans, what we need to do is to say, fine, we have a president, we have a vice president, electioneering period is over. However, we need to fix the flaws.
Deputy president.
Sorry. Okay.
Deputy. Yeah, please be correct.
You can tell Haku vote.
Deputy. Oh, he could vote. Okay,
yeah. Sir. You know what's funny that you say I didn't vote? I still even have that thing on my makucha. Imekata kutoka. Sijui. In fact, I even bought
Me
GV.
Too. Yeah.
Me too, I even bought GV.
Okay.
Imekata kutoka.
Hii ni zile kula zile
but pengine liharibika hatujui.
Wacha
You know,
ku-
we are assuming that our votes were counted,
Wacha
right?
kuchocha,
Because we saw them. Actually, we saw votes that were counted in the portal. We don't know if ours were the ones that were counted. Okay. I digress. So, at this point, what we need to do, especially as diaspora, and we do have a voice, we need to make sure that systems and processes are in place so that we don't have the faux pas that we had, especially like the one that Ali was mentioning about simple document verification, which somebody may have actually forgotten to carry the original document that they actually registered with. They can tell it's you. They know it's you, but they still will not let you vote because you did not remove your passport or your ID. Now imagine you are somebody who is a grandma who came here to visit mjukuu wako. You change your vote to Stato. And this is possibly the last presidential voting that you're able to do. Umekatazwa kwa sababu ya hiyo kipande huku kuja nayo. So there's some things that somebody at the ground, on the ground, should have been able to make those decisions right there and say, you know what, I am verifying as a returning officer or the whoever official for IBC here on the ground, and I'm going to go ahead and let this person vote because we can see them in the system. We have verified it's them, whether it's via fingerprint, whether it's via whatever. And so now we should go ahead and be able to let them vote. The fact that they did not produce that document, and Ali was an observer, people were turned away. And I think it was probably between...
An agent.
Yes, sorry, Ali, you are an agent.
Yeah.
Hey, Omosh.
How many people do you think were turned away? About 50?
Oh, there are so many. You know, the ones that I counted, you know, like the shift when I was inside there, because IBC, another thing that IBC did illegally is that they told us that you cannot have more than one agent from the same party at the same time in that polling center, which was
That's
not
a lie.
true. That's a lie, you know.
As long as you are a registered agent, you should
Yeah.
be able to access at any given time that you want.
Yes. So so the number of people who were rejected, just from my own observation, you know, like when I was in there during my shift, you know, I could count, because remember we had like 314 registered voter in the DC polling station. I think 220 something showed up to you know, like those are the ones that were counted. There were 229, there was total 231. There were 2 spoilt votes. Those were Baba's votes, but I'm going to talk about that later. But there were the number of people that I counted, you know, like from the because I was there for like maybe like 5 or 6 hours. I counted at least 12 people who were turned away. And 12 people in a situation where you had 230 people. If you count, if let's say, because I wasn't there in the other shift, but if you give the same 12 people, that's 25 people. That's 10%. That's 10% of the people who showed up were turned away because of this document. Or
When
that
I was there,
document.
there were 2.
Yeah, and you were there for a very short period.
Period.
Yeah, you
2.
saw 2. So
2.
And that's
And I
why
don't know
I'm
how
telling
many
you.
people prior
Yeah.
had been
And
let
these are
go.
people who had put their kidole on the machine, and the machine had identified them. You are Kizito Wazabanga. Yes. And the machine has identified you. And then IBC wanasema, we know you're Kizito Wazabanga, but we're not going to allow you to vote.
Where's your
because of
document?
ABC. Yeah. So I think that was problematic. On the spoiled votes, here's another problem. We had a total of 113,000 spoiled votes. And this came in the Supreme Court case, where one of the friends of the court, I can't remember who they were trying to make the court reverse that idea that spoiled votes should not be used in the total tally. And I kind of agree with them, because the argument was that here's someone who showed up and they were verified to be who they were, and they cast a ballot. We can't treat this person the same as someone who never showed up, who just stayed home and watched Netflix. You know, so you can't treat these two people the same, and that's the reason why they were saying this vote, of course, it's spoiled. It should not go to him or to her or to candidate A or candidate B, but it should be included in the total tally because these people came up. And I'll tell you something about the spoiled votes. A majority of the spoiled votes, zote, it's there's this portion where you're supposed to tick either Raila or Ruto. So if that tick goes slightly outside that box, it's counted as a spoiled vote. Now, here it's very clear.
Really?
If any, and those two spoiled ballots, that's 1% of the people who showed up. And even when you count those 113,000 votes, that's almost 1% of the total votes. And here you're talking about a vote that was decided by a very small margin.
233,000.
No, I'm not talking even about the margin between the two.
Oh,
I'm
you're talking about the
margin over 50%.
Yeah.
It was decided by a very small margin. So a lot of, if you go and do a review of a lot of those spoiled votes, it's one thing if someone comes and and draws a picture of Mickey Mouse on the ballot and goes home. But here, you can clearly tell this person chose Ruto. You can clearly tell this person's intent was to choose Raila. But then, just because of that silly rule, it's counted as a spoil. And that's why we have a very high number of spoiled votes. And those are some of the rules that maybe need to be reviewed. And this is where now, this is how I think IBC can now start rebuilding trust with people. Because the only reason why Kenya Kwanza people are saying good things about IBC is because they're on the winning side.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we know if they were on the other side, this would completely change. So both sides, the reality is both sides have the still, they've done a good job on technology, and especially, when people are looking from the outside, they're seeing, oh, this is so amazing. They're putting, all these forms online. You can just pick it up, pull it, and look at it. But now your customers, the ones who you're dealing with, forget about the people who are looking at this from outside. Forget about a Ugandan who is not even understanding, how this is happening.
These outsiders.
Yeah. But so outsiders, there's a certain impression that they have, including even America. Even the New York Times was very impressed because this doesn't happen in even in American elections. And I give a lot of credit to Kenya for that.
So Ali, swali.
Yes.
Ni system ilikuwa mbaya au system iliharibika?
System ilikuwa mbaya kutoka mwanzo. Ukiangalia mambo yaliyotokea.
Hiyo system ya kuonyesha ilikuwa mbaya au system iliharibika?
Ukiangalia kutoka kabla watu waende kupiga kura.
Sawa.
Ukifuatilia mambo ambayo ilikuwa imetendeka.
Sawa.
Na first of all tuanze na for the first time ever in a Kenyan election, gubernatorial, parliamentary and civic elections were cancelled a day before the election. Yeah, on the date of the election. Yeah, they were postponed on the date of the election. A day before the election, and even on the day, kuna watu walikuwa wanafika kwa polling station, wanaambiwa, oh, bahati mbaya.
No, yeah, hiyo naelewa. Mimi nazungumzia hiyo ya kushare na kustream live na nini. Ilikuwa ni process mbaya au process iliharibika? So process, I'm really talking about trust here. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about the technicalities of doing it. So trust, kuna point ilifika IBC wakaisimamisha. Sawa, yes.
If you're in a situation, tuseme kwa mfano wewe ni boyfriend ambao unajulikana kwa kucheat.
Wewe.
Yeah. Okay. Unajulikana kwa kucheat. Unatambulika kwa kucheat.
Yes.
And then kila mara kukiwa na compromising situation, unakutwa sehemu fulani na mwanamke fulani umemshika kwa njia fulani.
Okay.
Yeah. So labda naweza kuwa ni coworker, mlikuwa mna discuss mambo ya kazini ama nini.
Ama cousin.
Yeah, lakini sasa and that's why IBC on a lot of opportunities they've had to build trust. Unaona kama hiyo hapo, I think if they just continued streaming the results kama vile walivyoanza.
So ndio swali langu linakuja.
Yeah.
Process ilikuwa mbaya au process iliharibika? I mean process yenyewe ilikuwa okay kabla ya uchaguzi watu walipoiangalia au watu walikataa kabla ya uchaguzi? Kwa sababu nafikiri process iliharibika katikati.
Process watu walikuwa tayari washaanza kukataa kabla ya uchaguzi.
Okay.
Wewe ukifuatilia like hata watu wazimio na hata pia watu wa Kenya Kwanza maswali ambayo walikuwa wanauliza na IBC kuruhusu watu kusimama kura ambao kwamba walikuwa tayari washawekwa red flag na EACC. Kulikuwa na mambo mengi ambayo ilitokea kabla ya kura ambao watu walirudi wakauliza, na maswala ambayo ilibuka katika ile kesi ya 2017, kesi ya Supreme Court ya 2017. So kulikuwa na mambo mengi, isipokuwa tu sasa ndo ilikuja ikafunguka sasa baada ya kura, na kwa kura ambayo imeamuliwa kwa kura 69,000 kwa 14 million votes. That's a very small margin, and that's a reason why that's a very small margin, and that's the reason why at a Supreme Court yenyewe they said that like 14 days is a very short period. They said they would need almost a year to to determine this case, so they have to use what they have within those 14 days and make a determination. So that's why I'm saying people need to understand why Azimio will still feel slighted, and why there will still be issues of reforming the IBC, and these issues will still come up. So because I'm telling you, I can guarantee you, if this went the other way around, or even if it went on a runoff, like the Kenya Kwanza people would be saying the same things.
No, my question is now, do the process need to be scrapped or overhaul, fixed some stuff?
I think we need to be genuine with ourselves as Kenyans, that we don't have neutral Kenyans. The first step that they need to take
do we need neutral Kenyans?
No, we don't have them. I don't know whether we need them. But the reality is, we don't have them.
Okay, so what's wrong with that? I think that's great.
Yeah, we don't have them. So I think we've now established that there's almost no neutral Kenyans.
Okay.
So let the coalitions, let the two coalitions, the ruling coalition and the opposing coalition, pick their people.
Ngoja unaona kwenye comment. Maana watu wamekuwa
let them pick their people. Let them pick their people so that we know huyu hapa ni commissioner lakini ni Azimio. Huyu hapa ni commissioner, because the people who've been on that other side, even in these previous elections, it was clearly known, which commissioners were on what side and which commissioners were on this side. And these squabbles happened. The only difference this time is that they came to the public. But these squabbles within the commissioners, they happened. They were there. The people who were inside know.
Comments ni mob. I don't even know where to start, because what Douglas Kanye. I think let me start
from the beginning.
Let me start from here when I say Taz Rogers says, I agree with Ali, there are no neutral Kenyans. There are no undecided Kenyans. Facts don't matter. There are no undecided Kenyans. Okay, Sistuki karibu sana. Swali, can we say that almost 50% who didn't vote were undecided? We wouldn't say they're undecided. I would just say they opted not to vote. It's that simple. Samulusa says Tanzanians and Ghanaians have permanent parties, and this was, I think, pertaining to what we were discussing about parties and how people shift.
Yeah.
So Tanzanians and Ghanaians have permanent parties. Kenya has briefcase parties and alliances based on personalities. There are no permanent parties. We should stop political cult worship and form parties based on ideologies and agendas. Frankie Hardy says Kenya is making strides internationally with our famous Supreme Court rulings, but no progress with our electoral process, which I think you were talking about. Something needs to happen. Did you all see the notice from the US Embassy? visa appointments are now available for 2023, not till 2024, as earlier stated. I think the US was expecting some violence, but Wakenya behaved. Senator Ledema, I'm not sure what that pertains to. Kenya has a foreign policy that does not recognize breakaway republics. I guess that is to what the Moroccan, the breakaway states. We only recognize sovereign states. That's our position since before independence. Interesting.
Okay. Well, share that information.
Please
with us
share.
because Kenya has recognized. We recognize South and Sudan even before the election, before the referendum. We've recognized this Sahrawi Republic. So I'm not sure who shared that, but whoever
it's Esther Mulusa.
Yeah, Esther, please share with us.
Na Sahrawi pia amesema hamtambui.
Amesema hatambui, lakini
alidelete tweet.
Trump. Lakini Trump wa delete tweets.
Na nani alikuwepo? Na prime minister wao alikuwa.
Prime minister wao alikuwepo, na wako na diplomatic presence in Kenya. They already have diplomatic presence in Kenya. Wako na ubalozi nchini Kenya.
Lelota says Kenyan interests come first. It's a very delicate time. Anyway, prove letter hiyo tusome ndio tujue. Economy needs to be resuscitated. That's Elolotsa. Karibu sana, by the way, Gadhe. Uhuru made a lot of constitutional blunders. Elolotsa, Western Sahel is an issue, but I think we need something to be done quick. Some people will be hurt. Omosh, that is fear-mongering. Speaking of which, karibu sana Kenyanjui. Omosh for almost 5 minutes shared his foreboding about Rigathi Gachagua, but presented no specifics other than chunga huyo mtu. Aya, rebuttal itabidi. Have you ever been in a place where a sitting president campaigns against his VP? Red flag. Yet big gamble. Elolota says, let's discuss pros and cons of each side. Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, and IBC.
Yes.
Maybe we can do that as we progress when we take a break. If Azimio won, would we be talking the same talking points?
No.
You said no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kwa sababu then at this point Kenya Kwanza ungekuwa nalalamika, Kenya Kwanza ungekuwa nalalamika na Azimio ungekuwa nazungumza vitu vingine. That's politics.
Yes.
Okay. Tusingekuwa tunazungumza haya, topic isingekuwa hii, wanao defend sasa hivi ungekuwa nalalamika, and that's the true katika siasa.
Wengine wetu kwa Kenya sasa hivi.
Sasa hivi watangomesha na nguo wameshanunua watu.
Suti mshapima.
Yeah, wameshapima, lakini sasa tutazitumia kwenye nani?
Yeah, so ideally that's that. Lloyd Osuga was Lloyd karibu sana says this is way back. No, Kamago, that's BS. Raila had the government on his side. And I think this is going back to the missteps or whatever happened for the outcome. Had the government on his side. DC arrested this guy and let him go. Kinoti said all has been cleared, and Chebukati has reassured them that all is well. Anyway, Frankie Hadi says Uhuru did not play Raila. You can tell from Rigiji's inaugural speech. Hey, by the way, I had that thing. He was still attacking UK in front of the dignitaries. The voter turnout in the past election was the worst. It did not meet the threshold. How they achieved 50+1 is still a mystery to lots of people. The judgment passed by the Supreme Court was not judicial but political. I think one of the party went to sleep with confidence, or went to sleep with confidence about their win, while the other worked overtime to make sure the tables were turned and succeeded. It is said the end justifies the means. Baba got 19% in Central, not 25%. Still a lot. Ali.
Okay, 19 is 1 in 5. That's still...
It's still a lot compared to other times. Other times, 2013, 2017. This one was... Because I think the notion was, if all factors remained constant, hapa nini, to 33, please.
Yeah,
but anyway,
but let's take a different trajectory in this conversation.
Yes,
and let's start talking about the promises that have been made.
Yes,
and maybe what we expect. And the first one is the diaspora. You know, during his inauguration speech, I like reading in between lines. He said that diaspora issues will be dealt with at the ministerial level, and I'm paraphrasing him. These are not his exact words, but he said diaspora issues will be dealt with at the ministerial level. So I don't know whether that means there will be a ministry of diaspora, or if diaspora is gonna be tacked onto another ministry like they do, like foreign affairs and diaspora, or East African affairs
desk of diaspora and diaspora.
Yes, which is what has been happening. Yeah.
Yes.
So I know right now people are talking of a diaspora ministry. But I'm waiting for that to be put on paper.
But based on so far what he has done, I'm not just talking about so far.
Yeah.
Like now, the inspector of police being given their own budget.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. Before, prior everything had to come from somewhere, but it spoke to Treasury. Amepewa pesa. Talking about, and I wanted to ask you this, but I think I'm trying to draw a correlation, moving the port activities from Nairobi and Naivasha back to coast.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm trying to say is I think returning or making sure that either a table desk or department or ministry, if it's created or it's going to be, I think he might do that. The question is how now diaspora will be engaged.
Now remember when Uhuru came to power, and I usually keep questioning these things, and then we usually get these lazy responses. Give him a chance. you know, when Uhuru, you know, like decided to create, you know, like I think a diaspora directorate, and then he appointed
Dennis Itumbi.
Itumbi
Yes.
as a representative.
Yes.
You know, to me at that moment, I was very sure that
Nothing happened.
Nothing is going to happen here.
Right.
So I think we need to wait, first of all, to see if it's going to be an actual ministry, and second, to see who's going to be appointed to that ministry. You know, like, you know, it may be a diaspora ministry, and then he appoints Oscar Sudi as a minister for diaspora. You know, so no, I mean, we don't know. I mean, who thought that Dennis Itumbi would have been appointed back in 2013? So what I'm saying is, let's wait and see, because I think the person he appoints is gonna give is gonna give us an idea of his real intention, whether he just wants to give a perception that he's doing something, or if he actually wants to do something. Remember the diaspora, you know, like, especially, let me talk about the US. We delivered 70% for Baba. You know, so he knows that you know, like the diaspora is not on his side, and of course, you know, like the number of the number of registered voters this time was very small, but I think that was a good opinion poll on what the overall diaspora would think. So we delivered. You know, what was we delivered in the US.
Well, there's also the hope. There's also the hope. Sorry, go finish your thought.
No, but what I'm just saying is that the person that he will appoint in that ministry will give us a direction of his intent. If we see Oscar Sudi being appointed, we know that this is just perceptions. If we see someone that we know has been fighting for diaspora affairs, you know, like, you know, people like former Rango Member of Parliament Shemo Chuodo, you know, we have people who are known to have been, you know, like working on diaspora issues for long, then we'll know his intent is,
or even Ali Badawi.
So at this point,
yeah.
No.
Anasema, I think what he meant is by that is ameweka kwenye comment.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Don.
Anasema, okay. Anasema, I think what he meant by that is that diaspora issue will be dealt with as presented. So it's up to us diasporans to get our heads together and have solid presentation to the administration.
But I think also kuna kazi
na wajibu. So na nyinyi pia mnawajibika.
Lakini bandio, these presentations have been made. There are documents, there are volumes of documents. They are gathering dust. In fact, they don't even need to come and talk to us again, because that information ipo tayari. It's there. It's just never been acted upon. We've had to fight for very small things like a constitutional right to vote. You know, we've had to fight for these very small things. And then the other danger that I also see, and I think people need to be comfortable with the fact that we're going to be checking this guy. We're going to be checking them at the moment of action, not waiting until 10 years, which is a silly thing that some people did with RUTO, and even people who are supporting him turned against him. But the other danger that I see, I give him credit for, first of all, swearing in those 6 judges that that President Uhuru had refused to swear. President Uhuru never gave any reasons, you know, never published, never said what intelligence reports he had against them. Because remember, these judges were still serving. They were still serving in the High Court. They were being appointed to the Court of Appeal. So these are judges who are still serving, who are actively taking cases. So I give him credit. But where I see danger is when he starts saying, you know, like, because he's very good. He's very good politically. You know, right now he knows that he can't threaten judges, because that's what used to happen back in the days of Baba Moi. You know, a judge would just be told, you know, like, we ile loan ulichukua, you know, like, we're recalling it tomorrow. So that doesn't happen anymore. So my feeling, and this is my feeling, I could be wrong, but this is my feeling, he's trying to court the courts to be on his side, because under the Jubilee administration, which of course it was Uhuru Kenyatta who was on top, they had a number of cases go against them, you know, like in the courts. So he's trying to tell the courts that I'm a good guy, so you guys should also be ruling in my favor. Now, the other danger that I see is that he gave numbers of how much is gonna be given to the extra is gonna be given to the judiciary every year. How does he know the budget of the judiciary? When we talk about independence of the budgets, he should not even be in position to say that they will be getting an extra 3 billion or they'll be getting an extra 2 billion. That right there is another way of indirectly trying to control the judiciary. I'm also glad with what he did to the police, which was what originally was supposed to happen under the new constitution, but Jubilee had other ideas. So he's given, like the accounting or the budgeting authority to the inspector general, which is good because now they can decide, like what they want to do with that money. But again, like we said, remember all those good promises we got in 2013, and people were happy, like people were sharing, like this pictures of high-speed trains and everything. So that's the exact same phase we are back right now. These promises are being made and people are saying all nice things,
but there's some things he has executed, hypothetically speaking.
Yes,
But I see what you're saying.
There's some things executed, but now like when we had a bad mailman who was not delivering the mail, a mailman who's been hired and he's been delivering mail, that's not something that you're supposed to get credit for. That's something that you're supposed to do. You're a mailman, deliver the mail. Nenda nyumbani. Don't expect kupigiwa makofi. But now, like when you deliver the mail and then umekuja ukaosha nyumba yangu, ukaosha maybe I can maybe huyo hapa.
Ni kama kushukuru ATM kwa kukupa hela yako.
Exactly, yeah. Kama ulikuwa umeenda withdraw $100, ATM bahati mbaya ikatoa $200. Hapo utasujudia ile ATM.
Lakini bado umetoa kwenye account yako, ina maana bado uko less by.
Hapana, account inasema 100 lakini imetoa 20 zimeshikana. I've had that situation. I can't confirm or deny when. But there's a time the ATM gave me more than I really had, and I didn't complain. I didn't complain because your bank ilikuwa imenikula ma overdrafts. But yeah. So I think the Kenya Kwanza people get comfortable with the idea, because you guys said you wanted an opposition. Especially the Kenya Kwanza people, they want an opposition. So get comfortable with uncomfortable things being said about your hustler president. Just get comfortable with that. And I think that's a way in which we are going to keep each other in check, and we won't have this monkey business that was happening for the last 10 years.
Now, a lot over here says, Master is saying over here, I think, I like the way Azimio is keeping RUTO on his toes. Yet they let the handshake get away with murder. I'm not sure. Lolota says, Ali, RUTO knows the budget. He was the VP. So I was listening to, I think, Akina Francis Gashuri. He was saying the budget, where is he going to, okay, somebody was asking, where is he going to get a 3 billion from? Yet the budget was already read. Because ideally, what he's working with, or what he will be working with, is the budget that was read just the other day. The budget.
What about the budget?
The budget. See, that was the budget was just read the other day.
Oh, yeah. That was in, I think, June or
June,
July.
right?
Yeah.
But where is he going to get the extra 3 billion?
I think there's going to be a supplementary budget done. And this is where now, I think also the media, now that the media is now clearly, there's some clear antagonism between the media and the ruling party. So I think we're going to have better checks than we used to be getting.
Where are my friends from Citizen?
Yeah.
I was
like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it was totally unnecessary.
Yes.
And he's also trying to build up KBC, which I'm okay with, because KBC is funded by taxpayers.
Don't build KBC to diminish private.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Just fanya. There's so many ways you build.
Because you remember there was also that hula baloo, by the way, before these other guys chime in, I don't know if you're taking a break, but about how there's going to be live streaming issues, where it was supposed to be just KBC that was going to do live stream the president, the inauguration.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is fine.
But then, when I'm chiming in, I'm seeing all stations, all channels are live streaming. So I was wondering what the issue, the feed.
It was a feed. That's all. They were just using a feed. And I think that's what probably was misunderstood. One guy was going in, we're cutting the feed, and the feed is distributed to everybody else, which is very, very common in the industry.
I was going to say that. It's like,
because I was wondering
you don't see 200 microphone when Biden is speaking, right?
Yeah.
Kuna microphone ya pale, ya White House, and the same thing about pale.
Yeah.
Camera inakuja feed without logo.
And then that's what you were saying.
Yes.
And then you
need a feed
CNN,
without the logo.
MSNBC.
And then CNN, MSNBC, kila mtu alafu mkiwa studio, then you do your commentary there. Lakini sio kila mtu apeleke camera.
that's
imagine event kubwa kama ile alafu kuna vyombo vya habari 100 alafu kila mmoja amepeleka kamera 8. I mean, you need all these angles, right? Una vyombo vya habari kiasi gani?
It's just like when they're going to present, a guy is going to talk over there, he's holding like 10 mics.
Yes. No, some of these Bonoko press conferences.
Yeah.
Some of these Bonoko press conferences, that's what you see.
You have like about 5
like
million
10
mics.
Yeah, and you're wondering, why does he have 5 million mics?
Na nyingine ziko juu, na cell phones too. So to me, I think...
At like this.
Yeah, you make a microphone. I think it was a good idea to have one production team in a create feeds. Alafu kule nyuma mnapata either na hii inafanyika sana hata kunapokuwa na press conferences like kwenye mkienda Ikulu kwa mfano, right? Feed ya microphone ni moja, huko nyuma kuna big box imechukua tu sauti.
Okay.
So hata ukiwa na kamera yako sio mic zote zinakuwa pale, mic ziko pale zimekuwa tested kwa kiwango zinaleta huko nyuma. Sasa mnapewa like
so huko kwa board ndo mna
huko nyuma ndo kila mtu anachomeka, unaweka kamera yako. Sasa kwa sababu event ilikuwa kubwa, mnachopata ni feed nzima ya picha.
Okay.
Kwa mnapata feed nzima ya picha, alafu nyinyi sasa ndo mnakwenda mtaweka logo, mtaweka chivumbi, na wengine wataweka Kenya Decides, Kenya 2022. Hiyo yote utaweka, lakini picha itabaki kuwa ni ile. Okay. Na actually wenzetu wamefika hatua ambayo wameendelea to the point kwamba kama ni break na wana nchi nzima itakuwa imechukua break, wote mnapata commercial break and stuff. Nyinyi mtaweka break zenu, mtaweka commercials zenu, lakini bado itabaki 5 minutes za break zitakuwa ni zile. Okay. Kwa technically hakuna atakayehama kutoka Citizen kwenda KTN kwa sababu nao watakuwa kwenye break. Badala ya kuangalia sabuni watakuwa wanauza unga, unajua. But it's just you either stick with that, commentary ndio itakuwa tofauti na pieces utakazokata.
Why do you have to mention unga? But anyway, Elolota says over here, today Ruto said he's not going to include GOP in the government administration to make sure Kenya Kwanza agenda is attained. I think he meant...
Don't include GOP.
I think he meant Azimio.
GOP.
Oh, whatever. GOP. I don't know what he means by GOP.
GOP is the Republicans, the Grand Old Party.
So that's what he's trying to say?
Yeah.
Opposition?
No, maybe he can. Yeah.
The Grand Opposition Party?
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Which is okay.
I'm okay with that. And in the same breath, he should also stop. He should also say that he's not gonna poach, people in parliament who are in Azimio, because he's saying he's busy poaching people, but at the same time here he's saying he's not gonna appoint anyone who's on the other side. For me, I'm quite okay with it. If you're on the other side, don't expect to be in government, and all those people who are now switching sides, or the neutrals who are now coming up right now to say that I was UDA all along. I mean, those are the people who are going to give you problems in your government. So me, I'm okay if he wants to appoint, like Kipchumba Murkomen, Oscar Sudi, and all these other people, Kina Sonko in the cabinet. That's okay. That's him. If he has a plan for them, that's okay. Because there's some names that have been going around, and there's a lot of people now who this is their payday. They felt like they supported him and they want to get paid back. The other issue is the issue for this position called CAS, Cabinet Administrative Secretary, that Uhuru created. Those were positions that were fairly unconstitutional. I think even the court made a ruling on that. So I don't know whether he's gonna, because that's where a lot of the orphans, are going, and all the people that maybe they wanted money from, that's where people are being rewarded. But I think where people need to be mindful, we typically focus too much on the cabinet. On the cabinet, of course, he cannot appoint a cabinet from Sugoi, because it's a very visible body. He'll have to choose something that looks like the face of Kenya. So I think there's usually a focus on the cabinet, maybe some what's called principal secretaries. But I think where people need to pay attention to, where people typically don't pay attention to, is parastatal appointments and diplomatic appointments, because that is where people go to eat. That's the reason why the Kenya, what do you call it, the Kenyan embassy here in DC, that's why we had Robinson Jeru Githae, someone with no diplomatic experience, someone who lost elections, being appointed as an ambassador.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the reason. And people don't sometimes look at these diplomatic appointments, but this is where people get this. Her daughter, or rather his daughter, Ruto's daughter, is the chargé d'affaires. I believe is it in Austria or Poland? In
one of those
Eastern European countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the places where people need to be careful about, because those are the critical positions, and unfortunately that's where people are rewarded. And even chairmen of, I don't know, boards and like this, there's a lot of appointments where now people get rewarded. And I think that's where the problem starts, because if the team that you bring in are purely brought in for being loyalists or being your people, I think that's where, because like Uhuru, I think he had a grand vision, but I think because of the people, the team that he brought, he's coming, you have a task to play a big team, like let's say you're Chelsea, you have a task to play a big team like Arsenal, and then you're bringing players from Kagera Sugar. There's a problem. Hapo kuna problem.
Ali.
No, that was just an example. It could have been Sofapaka, it could have been any team.
No, let's stick with Kagera Sugar.
But let's stick with Kagera Sugar.
Yeah.
Umekuja na pupa. What?
Yeah. Anyway, but this is it. Quite a number of comments still coming here, but I think we are gonna, on the social side, we're gonna get back to this. We're gonna talk a little bit of rugby. Went to Los Angeles Sevens.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna talk a bit about it.
And even the World Cup Sevens just happened.
Yeah, the World Cup Sevens just happened.
Micah, Kachonjo.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about that. But with that said, this is it for the Politics Hour. Want you to stay tuned, because we are still coming back. We're gonna talk about all these things again in the social segment. Mimi ni Ali Badawi aka Mjukuu Masai, and you still tuned in to the OneMic show. Uno.
Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, this is still an encore presentation of the OneMic show. Remember, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that the People's Kamukunji is in full effect. We are back. And now, since that our resident DJ is at an undisclosed location, I don't even know what the hell he's doing there, which is okay. Saitan. Bandit Budabos Kade. Kagera Sugar is in the building. Budababa. Twende kazi.
I'm proud of you, my woman.